I have talked to thousands of musicians over the last decade who are not happy with where they are musically. And it's usually not because they weren't born with some innate talent. It's because of their relationship with practice. And it usually sounds something like this. I played when I was a kid, I loved it, but life got in the way. I had kids. I went a different direction with my job. Somebody told me that I couldn't do music as a career. I was busy, my health went bad. I had to take care of my brother. And the thing is, all those things are important. You need to do all of those things. I'm the same way. If I don't take care of my health, I'm gonna be injured. I can't play the drums. If I don't take care of my work, I don't have any money. I don't have any time to think about playing the drums. I gotta survive, right? And if I don't think about my family, then I'm gonna have bad emotions, which that doesn't really make for that good of art. I guess you could argue about that. But the thing is, if it's music versus your life, music is always gonna lose. I hate to say it. You need to find a way to work music with your life, not against it. So let's talk about how you do that. The first thing to remember is that momentum is everything. You don't become a great musician by practicing 8 hours a day for 1 week. No, it's quite the opposite. You become a great musician by having a life's practice of chipping away at your musicality day by day, little by little, for decades on end, by becoming a person who does that. So that's why it's important to remember that momentum is everything. You have to just keep moving. Like one of my students this week, we were talking about this, and he was telling me how he has these band rehearsals every week, and every week there's stuff going on with his daughter, there's stuff going on with his work, there's stuff going on with his health. And then he gets to the weekend when his band rehearsal is, and he's like, this is just one more thing that I have to get over the hump for. And he always wants to cancel it and just say, you know what, guys, I just need a break. I need to take the week off. I'm not coming to band rehearsal. But then he goes to the band rehearsal, and after he's done, he is always glad he does it. It gives him energy. It keeps his momentum going, and that's why he's getting better and better as a musician. Because it's so easy to have that temptation to cancel things a lot of times because we think we have to be perfect to do it, right? I have to show up with great energy or else my music is gonna suck. No, I have to show up or my music is gonna suck, right? It's actually going and doing the thing that's going to keep your momentum going. Like, for example, when I was, in grad school, I practiced so much that I became injured and I had chronic tendonitis and I could barely hold my phone, my hands and my wrists and my tendons hurt so bad. And so I was just doing the bare minimum. I was just doing my rehearsals. I was in the top big band, whatever that means. And I was in a combo and everything. And I was telling my therapist at the time, actually, I was like, I want to stop going. I want to stop. This is too much. I need to just stop and get healed, take care of myself. And he was like, okay, well, tell me about, are your band directors, are they mad at you? What do you mean? I was like, no, they're not mad at me. And he's like, okay, so what about your bandmates who are in your band? Are they unsatisfied with the way you're playing? And I'm like, no. And he's like, so who's the one who's unsatisfied with it? And it was me. I was gonna be the one to stop my own momentum simply because it wasn't up to my standards. And here's the thing. I just kept going and I showed myself that I could just show up and chip away at it. And I'm so glad I did because that could have made me quit. That could have made me stop forever. I don't know if I would have came back for it. But continuing to go kept my passion for playing the music. It kept my hopes alive. It kept my spirits alive. And that's why it's so important. Even if you can't play at the top of your ability, you just have to keep going. Don't cancel your musical endeavors because momentum is everything. So once we're not canceling things, we have to start to get our momentum built up, right? And a big thing here is to avoid this lie. You want to avoid saying this to yourself. I'm going to get caught up on my practice when I'm on summer break, when I have a week off of work, when my daughter graduates college, when my kids are old enough that they don't need my attention all the time, right? Those are all valid reasons. But saying I'm gonna get caught up when I have a whole bunch of time accepts the premise that we need to have a lot of time to practice in order to make progress. No. Remember, we're chipping away at a practice, a daily practice a life's practice, more like practicing medicine or practicing Buddhism, right? We're chipping away at that kind of practice in musicality, right? So it doesn't matter if we have time or not. It's just something we do. It's something that we are. Maybe we touch it for a minute. Maybe we touch it for a moment, right? But we always do it because it's part of who we are, right? So those things, saying like, I'm going to get caught up when I have more time, when my daughter grows up and gets out of college or whatever, it's great for a short term because then you get a whole bunch of practice all at once, but it actually keeps you from practicing, you know, because it might be like, oh, when I have vacation during December, so that's putting it off for 3 months, but then you put it off for another 6 months and another 8 months. And if it's like when my daughter graduates high school, it might be for 12 years that you don't practice. I'd rather you practice for 1 minute a day for 12 years than wait 12 years and then practice 8 hours a day for the next decade, right? Because I just, in my experience, that just doesn't happen. There's always going to be another thing. Instead, we need to have more of a mindset around doing it daily, no matter how much it is. So there's this great quote about meditation. It's like, if you don't have time to meditate an hour a day, then you should meditate 2 hours a day. Because it's basically saying, in the times where you don't have time, that's when you need meditation the most. So you have to create time for it. And that's exactly how practice is. Those times when you're thinking, oh, I don't have time to practice, that should be a moment to you to reassess your priorities and say, you know what? I probably need to practice because I'm stressed out about what's going on with my family. I'm stressed out about what's going on with my living situation. I'm stressed out about what's going on with my job. If you're playing music, it's probably because you love it, right? So make time for it. Even if it's just, you know what, I'm just gonna sit down and play some stuff that I already know. I'm just gonna jam. For me, a lot of times when I'm playing the drums, I just sit down and I just touch it. I just feel it. I just connect with my instrument. It's my happy place. It's my sense of peace, right? And I just know that I can sit in this chair whenever I need to. And it's a well that I can draw from to find peace in the world, no matter where I am, no matter what's going on in my life. Even if it's just for a moment, I can sit down and be present at this drum set. So even when it's stressful, we need to know that we can sit down and connect to our music, right? Especially when it's stressful. Practice should be treated this way, a daily practice, like you would practice your religion or your medicine or something like that. It's a way of life. That's really how we want to see it. When you have extra time, when you have spring break, when you have vacation, whatever, we should view those as bonuses, not the only time that we practice. Now, if we are keeping our musical commitments and we're practicing regularly, however little that is, we might start to feel ourselves slowing down and losing motivation because we're stuck, because we're frustrated, because we're at a roadblock where we can't keep growing. And that's where the third part, it really comes in handy, is we need to get some feedback. We need to get somebody to tell us if we're on the right track or if we need to pivot. So I teach a lot of students, a lot of incredible, talented students, you know, who have been working on their music for years. And 97% of the time, when they show me something, it usually goes like this. There's a lot of talking before they show it to me. There's a lot of hedging. There's a lot of, well, I practiced it like this, but it's not consistent. And I thought it was this, and I don't understand that. And I'm like, okay. Just play it for me, right? And then they play it for me, and I'm like, dude, you're done. You need to fix one note in this whole thing, and we should just move on. And this is so indicative of what happens to us when we're practicing, is that we torture ourselves. We get 97% of the way there, and then we torture ourselves about the last 3%, when it would be way more productive to go learn the 80% of the next thing. That's going to get the most growth, that's going to get the most fulfillment, the most fun, the most joy, keep us motivated. And that's why it's so important to get feedback, because most of what I'm doing with my students, they're so talented, is just saying, you're done, move on. As a matter of fact, this happened to me when I was recording an album with my band Reckoner, right? So I had a producer, this wonderful musician, bassist, singer named Katie Ernst, and she was in the studio with us. And if you've been in the studio before, you know this feeling where you're like analyzing and playing at the same time, which is exactly what you do not want to do when you're improvising. But we would play a take and then we would go, is that it? Did we get it? I don't know. I feel like the bridge, I was kind of like a little slow. And Katie would turn on the intercom and she would go, you're done, next song. And that is so valuable because it saves you so much time. It also saves you all the mental torture of going back and forth with yourself in your head. Am I done? Am I done? The decision fatigue will just wear you out and sap all your motivation. So it's very important that you get a mentor that can give you this kind of feedback. And by the way, if you don't have a mentor, go find one. Like, this is what I do for my students, is like, you need to go to somebody and you need to ask them questions. You need to say, am I on the right track? And I'm happy to do that for you. That's exactly 90% of what I do with my students. So if you want to work on that with me, then there should be some links that you can click where you can reach out to me. Okay? But get feedback either way so that you don't get stuck in your own head. So once you're keeping your musical commitments, you have a daily practice, and you're getting feedback so you're actually being productive, you need to optimize for fun. Because it's one thing to be productive, and that will get you growth and fulfillment, which will keep you playing. But why did you start doing this in the first place? Probably because you love it. Probably because it makes you so happy to listen to it. It makes you so happy to play it. You have this passion. You remember the first time you got your drum set? I remember being in marching band, and when the chord hit and we all I hit the bass drum. I had this big bass drum, and it all hit at once, and I just, like, goosebumps, right? I remember that feeling. And sometimes I get so twisted up in my head about, the physics of technique and the theory of the piano and all of these things that I forget that feeling. And that's when you need to optimize your practice for fun. So instead of sitting down and saying, okay, what weaknesses do I have that I need to conquer today? No. Sit down and say, what do I want to play? I just want to play along with this song. It's really fun, and I like to jam with it. For me, it's Night and Day by Kenny Garrett, and with Brian Blade on the drums, but I have like a drumless version, and I just jam along to that. I just love playing along. The way Kenny Garrett, his rhythms, it's like so fun to interact with, and the tempo feels good. I think it's Bob Hurst on the bass, and it's just so fun. I put that on when I'm feeling down or not feeling motivated, and it reminds me why I play music, right? So just optimize for touching the drum. Just get on and shred. If you're a pianist, just play some pretty chords. Like, don't try to get anything done. Just say, like, I just want to touch my instrument. I just want to have fun with it. And you'll probably find 9 times out of 10 that once you start doing that you're excited and you're motivated again, and then it's like, oh, I'm going to get into this thing that I need to practice, right? Now, what's important is don't do it with that motivation, right? Don't try to hack your brain and say, well, if I start with fun, then I'll be productive. No. You can't trick yourself like that. Your brain knows what you're going to do. Just have the intention of, I'm going to sit down and have fun regardless of what comes out, because that's where you started. That's the pure place that you started playing your instrument. So if you can reconnect with that regularly, all the other stuff will take care of itself. You're going to be just fine. With these 4 tools, you should have what you need to re-engage with your practice, to connect to why you're doing it, to be in the moment, to be present, and have a life's practice of playing music. Because a life in music is a life well spent, in my opinion. So if you find these helpful, there's probably another video that's going to get recommended that you're going to like. I hope to see you next time.